Have you ever faced such an overwhelming challenge that there seemed to be no way out, an insurmountable mountain in front of you? Perhaps it's an ambitious professional goal, a complex personal problem, or even that feeling that the world is conspiring against you. If you've ever felt the weight of helplessness, like this video and subscribe to the Samurai Wisdom channel, the voice of Yoshitsune, because the story we're about to unveil today is exactly for you. Imagine yourself in 12th century Japan, after the devastating defeat of his clan in the Heiji Rebellion. A young Minamoto no Yoshitsune, still a child, is torn from his family and sent to the isolation of a temple on Mount Karama. It wasn't just any exile. It was, in fact, a disguised prison, an attempt to neutralize any future threat from a Minamoto heir. You, in that place, with an uncertain future and a stolen past, could have resigned yourself to fate. Many would, but Yoshitsune, even so young, refused to bow. He did not surrender to despair. Instead, he transformed frustration and a sense of powerlessness into a source of energy for rigorous and tireless training. While others saw the temple as a religious refuge, Yoshitsune saw it as a disguised training ground. He knew that, without physical strength or an army, his mind would be his greatest weapon. A fascinating curiosity is that, even under the tutelage of Buddhist monks, he secretly sought masters in combat, military strategy, and even swordsmanship. Willing to share their knowledge, he didn't just train, he absorbed every teaching like a thirsty sponge, revealing an unyielding determination that sprang from his soul. The lesson for you here is powerful and timeless. Adversity doesn't have to be your end, but rather your catalyst. When the odds are against you, when life puts you in a metaphorical prison, true freedom arises from your ability to channel pain and uncertainty into focused action. Like Yoshitsune, you have the strength to transform helplessness into unwavering preparation. He transformed his exile into a springboard for the future. Are you willing to do the same with your own challenges? In your life, have you ever found yourself in a situation where all your strategies seemed to fail? What do you do when the path that always worked simply no longer exists? For Yoshitsune, this reality manifested itself in the Battle of Dan-no-ura. The final naval confrontation against the Taira clan. The tide was against him, literally. The Taira were masters of naval warfare and had a deep knowledge of the treacherous currents of the Shimonoseki Strait, which, at the beginning of the battle, favored them. Furthermore, Yoshitsune's forces were numerically inferior, and his ships, less adapted for sea combat. Faced with such a glaring disadvantage, most commanders would have clung to conventional tactics, doomed to fail. But Yoshitsune was not common. Instead of fighting the tide, he studied it, observing the wind and the disposition of the enemy vessels. He knew that the Taira clan relied on the flow of the currents and the dexterity of their archers. So, he conceived a completely audacious strategy. He would attack the enemy archers first, with his own arrows, and then target the sails of the Taira ships. The idea was to immobilize them, transforming their naval superiority into a trap. This ingenuity in a moment of crisis is the most valuable lesson for you. How many times do you feel stuck in how things have always been done? Yoshitsune's innovation did not come from an advantage, but from necessity. His unexpected action caught the enemy by surprise and broke their strategic advantage. This teaches us that, on your journey, creativity is your greatest asset. What can you do differently, unexpectedly, to turn the game in your favor? The real curiosity, however, is what happened next. The tide flow in the strait changed direction in the middle of the battle. reversing the advantage in Yoshitsune's favor, which reinforces the idea that the wise warrior does not fight against the forces of nature, but uses them to his advantage. This turnaround was the turning point that cemented Yoshitsune's victory. This shows that the ability to adapt and to think outside the box is what differentiates the warrior from a common commander. The Battle of Dan-no-ura was not won by brute force, but by the mind of a genius. But how did he manage to lead his men in a battle where victory seemed a fantasy? Have you ever wondered what it really means to lead? Not just giving orders, but inspiring people to overcome their own limits, to see the impossible as just another challenge. For Minamoto no Yoshitsune, the Battle of Ichinotani was the perfect stage to demonstrate the essence of true leadership. Imagine the scene. You and your men are facing a slope so steep it is considered impassable, a natural obstacle that would protect the Taira enemy from any frontal attack. Your own soldiers, however loyal they were, doubted. It's impossible. We're going to crash down there. You could hear. Conventional tactics dictated a different, safer approach. But Yoshitsune was not looking for safety. He was looking for decisive victory. This is where leadership by example manifests itself. In its purest form, Yoshitsune did not stay in the rear, commanding from afar. He placed himself in front of his men, looking at the dizzying descent. With a courage bordering on madness, he was the first to begin the descent, without hesitation. You can feel the butterflies in your soldiers' stomachs, the mix of fear and admiration as they watch their commander risk his own life to clear the way. This action in itself silenced doubts and ignited the flame of confidence in his warriors. He did not just command, he acted, inspired, and led by the purest example of bravery. This audacious tactic became known as Hayadori, or fire attack, and was unprecedented in the warfare of the time. The idea was to use the steep slope not as a barrier, but as an element of surprise, attacking the unprotected flank of the Taira, who expected a prolonged siege and not a suicidal attack. The genius was not just in conceiving the idea, but in inspiring his men to execute it. Are you willing to be the first to face danger in your own life, whether in a challenging project or a difficult decision? A fascinating curiosity is that, to test the feasibility of the descent, Yoshitsune supposedly observed deer and wild boars descending the slope. Realizing that if animals could, his trained warriors could too, with the right mindset and inspiring leadership. The victory at Ichinotani was overwhelming, proving that authentic leadership creates the impossible. But, paradoxically, it was after this and other crushing victories that new and unexpected challenges began to arise for Yoshitsune. After all, what happens when victory, instead of bringing peace, attracts envy and betrayal from those you least expect? Have you ever experienced the bitter feeling of seeing your success met with resentment instead of celebration? Imagine having fought with everything you had, achieved glorious victories, and then discovering that the greatest threat comes from where you least expect it, from who should be your greatest ally. For Minamoto no Yoshitsune, the taste of victory was quickly soured by the envy and distrust of his own older brother, Yoritomo. After the overwhelming victories that solidified the Minamoto clan's power and culminated in the final defeat of the Taira, Yoshitsune became a hero. His popularity grew among the people and the samurai, and he was seen as the great general who had restored his clan's glory. But for Yoritomo, who was building the first shogunate in Kamakura, this popularity was not an asset, but a direct threat to his control. Here, you find one of the most complex lessons about human relationships and the corrosive impact of envy. Yoshitsune, with his unquestioning loyalty to his brother and clan, would never have imagined that his own achievements would be the cause of his downfall. He believed he was serving a greater purpose, which makes the betrayal even more painful. An intriguing curiosity that illustrates the depth of this rupture is that Yoritomo not only began to secretly distrust Yoshi, he publicly forbade him from entering Kamakura, the center of the new government. Imagine the humiliation. The victorious general, the savior of the clan, barred from the gates of the capital he helped build. This attitude was not just a sign of distrust, but a public declaration of rupture, isolating Yoshitsune and undermining his authority. Yoritomo, in a calculated manner, even used rumors and unfounded accusations to justify his actions, showing how insidious envy can be when mixed with power. This is a powerful reflection for you. How would you position yourself when those you trust most and to whom you have dedicated your loyalty turn their backs on you out of envy or ambition? Yoshitsune's experience teaches us that, sometimes, the most difficult battle is not against the declared enemy, but against veiled betrayal. How did he manage to maintain hope and direction when his world crumbled under the weight of distrust and persecution, transforming a victorious general into a fugitive? Imagine that, overnight, your life turned upside down. Are you prepared to radically change your path when all your initial plans fail? This was the harsh reality of Minamoto no Yoshitsune. From victorious general, he transformed into a relentless fugitive, hunted by his own brother Yoritomo throughout Japan. He no longer had armies to command, nor castles for shelter. Instead of his shining armor, he had to adopt disguises. Yoshi had to adapt to new realities in an extreme way, changing identity and relying on the loyalty of a few allies who dared to defy Yoritomo's authority. Every step was a risk, every hiding place, a temporary dwelling. This phase of his life is a poignant testament to the human capacity for reinvention under the most intense pressure. The lesson here for you is clear. Adaptation is the key to survival and overcoming. In life, things don't always go as planned. You may encounter unexpected losses, drastic changes in scenery, or broken expectations. In these moments, rigidity becomes a burden. Yoshitsune's versatility teaches us to flex our minds and spirits. Curiosity that illustrates this incredible adaptability is the legend that Yoshitsune disguised himself as a Yamabushi, an itinerant, ascetic monk, to escape his pursuers. This was a clever way to blend into the landscape, as these monks traveled freely throughout the country. The fact that such a prominent military commander adopted such a humble and precarious life shows not only his ingenuity, but also his total willingness to do whatever it took to survive. He gave up pride and glory for a chance to continue. How do you react when your inner castles crumble? Do you cling to what was, or do you seek new ways to move forward? Yoshitsune's life reminds us that, even amidst so many losses of power, home security hope can be maintained through the ability to reinvent oneself and find strength in one's own adaptability. But even with all this resilience, what is the true legacy of a warrior whose life was marked by such adversity and, in the end, by a tragic death? Have you ever stopped to think about what your true legacy will be? Not just what you achieved, but who you became and the impact you had on people's lives. The story of Minamoto no Yoshitsune, even culminating in a tragic defeat and a premature death, is a vivid testament that an individual's legacy transcends tangible successes and military victories. He left behind an indelible mark of bravery, cunning, and honor. Despite being betrayed and persecuted, the resilience of Yoshitsune's human spirit shone. His persistence in the face of relentless adversity was not just a survival strategy, it was the manifestation of an unbreakable character. His story is remembered not only for his innovative tactics or his overwhelming victories, but for the way he faced every obstacle, every betrayal, every loss, with a dignity and determination that inspire even today. For you, the question is, what do you want people to remember about you, beyond your deeds? Will it be your ability to inspire others? Your integrity under pressure? Your persistence in difficult times? The true mark of a warrior, or of anyone seeking greatness, is not just to win battles, but to inspire those around them to fight their own. Yoshitsune, even in his final defeat, became a legend, a symbol of heroism and a life lived with passion. And here lies a fascinating curiosity, which underlines the mythical power of his legend. There is a popular theory, although without concrete historical evidence, that Yoshitsune did not die in the final siege. The legend suggests that he escaped to the Asian continent, where, somehow, he would have become Genghis Khan, the great Mongol conqueror. Although improbable, this theory demonstrates how profound the admiration and fascination that the figure of Yoshitsune exerts in the popular imagination. It is a testament to the belief that such an indomitable spirit could not simply disappear. His story is a powerful reminder that the most lasting impact comes not only from what you achieve, but from who you become in the process. What kind of inspiration are you building for your own legacy? How can you transform the lessons of bravery, cunning, and honor into concrete actions in your life, so that your journey is remembered not only for your achievements, but for the strength of your spirit? Throughout this journey, you walked side by side with Minamoto no Yoshitsune, from his days of reclusion on Mount Kurama, where he transformed helplessness into preparation, to the improbable victories at Dan-no-ura and Ichinotani, where his innovation and leadership by example redefined the art of war. You witnessed the bitter price of envy and betrayal, and the incredible art of adaptation that allowed him to survive and reinvent himself amidst persecution. And, finally, you reflected on the legacy that transcends life and death. The truth is that, regardless of the scale of the battles Yoshitsune fought on the battlefield, the greatest and most significant struggle was always internal. It was the struggle against the doubt that whispered in his mind, against the fear of an uncertain future, and against the resignation of an imposed destiny. Like him, you also possess immense power to conquer your own internal and external battles. No matter how impossible they seem, think about your own life. What doubt paralyzes you? What fear prevents you from moving forward? Where do you feel tempted to simply resign yourself? Yoshitsune's journey is a mirror for yours. He teaches us that strategy is not just for the battlefield, but for your life. Resilience is not a characteristic of a few, but a capacity you can cultivate. And leadership begins with the ability to lead yourself. Every step of Yoshitsune, from the young man who secretly trained in the monastery to the general who descended steep slopes and defied conventions, was a conscious choice towards overcoming. He did not wait for perfect conditions. He created his own opportunities, overcoming himself with each challenge. And this is the same choice that presents itself to you now. What choice will you make today to begin writing your own legacy of achievements? Will you allow yourself to be paralyzed by doubt, or will you channel that energy into action, just as Yoshitsune did? Yoshitsune's wisdom is not just an ancient story. It is a timeless guide for your journey. Use your bravery to face your fears, your cunning to innovate in your challenges, and your honor to maintain your integrity, even when things get difficult. If Yoshitsune's journey resonated with you and inspired you to eliminate doubt in your own life, subscribe to the Samurai Wisdom, the Voice of Yoshitsune channel for more timeless lessons. Activate the bell so you don't miss any of our next videos. Leave your comment about which of Yoshitsune's lessons impacted you the most, and share this video with someone who needs that dose of inspiration to win their next battle.